Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a esta nueva emisión de Diálogo de CGTN Español. Un saludo cordial desde Beijing, soy Bin. En los últimos años, la cooperación entre China y Colombia se ha visto ampliada en varios ámbitos. En 2019, el presidente colombiano Iván Duque Márquez visitó China y propuso la iniciativa China-Colombia para reforzar la interconectividad de la iniciativa de la Franja y la Ruta. Y en el pasado marzo, a invitación de su homólogo colombiano, el presidente chino Xi Jinping dio un discurso al pueblo colombiano mediante vídeo. Hay medios colombianos que señalaron que se veían fortaleciendo la presencia de China en Colombia. Entonces, ¿en qué nivel se encuentran las relaciones chino-colombianas? Recientemente, CGTN realizó una entrevista exclusiva con el presidente colombiano Iván Duque Márquez, la cual forma parte del programa de hoy. Además, vamos a hacer una conexión con un investigador chino en temas relacionados con China y América Latina para un análisis de las relaciones chino-colombianas. Primero, veamos la entrevista con el presidente colombiano.
Excelentísimo Señor Presidente Iván Duque. I want to let you know something. A recent Disney film, Encanto, has done very well with the Chinese people. And I also have to tell you the book, 100 Years of Solitude, is also a household name in China. Me personally, I enjoyed reading it very much. So how do you interpret this phenomenon? How would you comment on the kind of cultural connection between the two peoples?
And I think you raised two very important topics. I think the first one that I would love to mention is Encanto really recreates many things about Colombia. The richness of our nature, our beautiful landscapes, but something more important, the quality and the values of our people. I think the Madrigal family are also an expression of what the Colombian family is for all of us. So we're all surrounded by love and fraternity. So I think it's a very well exposed sentiment of what the Colombian national DNA is. So we feel very proud that this movie has allowed many people throughout the world to know more about our country. But you also talk about Gabriel García Márquez, who in my opinion is one of the greatest writers of our time. And his book, 100 Years of Solitude, for me is the culmination of what he conceived as a magical realism. So I think it's not only well-written literature, but it's also a book that illustrates many things about our country and about the Colombian family, and also recreates parts of the Colombian history. So we feel very proud about this book, and as you well pointed out, it is a book that in literary terms also was very innovative by the time it was published, because it's not a book about one person or a main character. It's about generations in a family. So I think that also made a very important change in Latin American literature. And we feel very proud about Garcia Marquez. He's one of the best writers, but he's also one of the treasures of the Colombian intellectuals. So I feel very proud that also his book is still being one of the best sold books in Spanish literature. And I'm glad that in China, it has so many fans.
Absolutely. Me is one of them. I actually read it in Chinese. But coming from a world of fiction to reality, President Xi Jinping addressed the Colombian people last March. He said that even the vast Pacific Ocean cannot get in the way of the profound friendship between the two peoples. What's your comments to his words?
Well, I have a great appreciation for President Xi. I consider him a good friend and a good friend of Colombia. We met 2 years ago when I had my visit, but we have kept communication. Last year, we had the opportunity to deliver a message to all the Chinese people, and he also sent a very beautiful message to the Colombian people. We have been celebrating 40 years of our bilateral relationship, and I think we have been strengthening the relationship in a way that it has reached the highest peak ever. Not only in terms of trade and investment, but also I must say that President Xi has also been very supportive of Colombia in the midst of the pandemic. We have also shared opportunities on projects that are transcendental for the Colombian future. We have seen a rise in Chinese investment in infrastructure projects in Colombia. So we definitely expect to keep on strengthening this bilateral relationship and being able to open opportunities. As I have described in many forums, we have been able to increase our exports of fruits, avocado, coffee. So we definitely see this relationship as a strategic relationship. And also, as I've said many times, the celebration of the 40th anniversary of our bilateral relationship, it's the best way to celebrate it is as we have done, which is to take our bilateral relationship to the highest peak ever.
Well, you definitely covered many areas. Let's break it down a little bit. For instance, let's start with the pandemic. Omicron is a major concern in many countries, basically all over the world. So how is the situation in Colombia, and what measures has your administration taken to fight it?
When we look back of what happened in 2020, 2021, and what's happening today, I think we have all learned the lessons, which is the best way to confront the situation is to have massive vaccination. In Colombia, we're very close to reaching 80% of the population with one dose. And also, we have now applied the booster shots to more than 4 million people, including that more than 4 million children have already received the vaccination in Colombia. So that is also a good way to say that Colombia has been preparing itself to face the situation, but also since we evaluate that the pandemic has hit the countries with economic effects, today the Colombian economy has demonstrated how resilient it is, and we are getting close to a 10% growth in 2021. Which will put Colombia in one of the countries with the highest growth last year. I think this has demonstrated that today, the best way to deal with Omicron and new variants is with massive vaccination, social distancing, use of masks, but at the same time, being able to put forward a very dynamic, robust, and ambitious recovery plan. And I think Colombia has demonstrated how strong, how resilient it is. And I feel very proud that we have been just getting closer to a sustainable pre-pandemic unemployment numbers.
Wow, that sounds really impressive. Many congratulations. You mentioned the economic recovery. Of course, foreign investment is very important. We understand that your country ended a decades-long turmoil in 2016. So now investors, especially Chinese investors, are very much looking forward to a safer investment environment. How much reassurance can you give them in terms of the kind of measures that have been taken to boost investor as well as tourist confidence in your country?
We have guaranteed that when you invest in a new hotel in Colombia, for the next 20 years, you will only pay 9% of income tax. That makes us very competitive and very attractive. But we have also reduced VAT tax rates for tourism services, including airline tickets. And that has also been a very important element. And we just passed in Congress last year the new tourism bill that enables the government to support the expansion of this sector. But when you look at the most important elements that an investor is looking, we are, in terms of taxation, competitive, energy costs competitive. We have expanded the most or the largest infrastructure investment in Colombian recent history, and we're launching an auction for 15 new projects. And something that is also very important is that we have legal stability. I think today we are eager to see more Colombian exports to China, and we're also eager to bring more investment to from China to Colombia. And you know, Colombia is a country that is open for business, and this openness for business represents that Colombia is ensuring all sources of investment around the world that they can come to Colombia, be safe, and generate a positive impact.
Some commentators say the geopolitical tension between major countries in the world is actually impacting the relations between, or how far the relationship between China and Colombia can go. Do you agree with that? How can the two countries develop their full potential without any third-party factor?
Let me say, Lou, that, as you know, Colombia is a country that believes in multilateralism, and it's a country that continuously strengthens its bilateral relationships around the world. And we feel proud to have a bilateral relationship that has been strengthened day by day in the last 40 years with China. We feel proud that we're having more investment, more trade, and at the same time that we still have a very strong and robust cooperation. We, in the Western Hemisphere, we are also a country that has a strong relationship with the European Union, and we want to remain a country that strengthens its international position in very fraternal, open, and sincere dialogue. And I, honestly, in my personal opinion, believe that in the times that we're seeing, in the times that we're living, where we are coming out of a pandemic, what we need to see in the world is not tension, but cooperation among countries, transparent cooperation that can lead the whole world to be reactivated, to strengthen growth, and to do that strengthening of growth with a very clear commitment of environmental policies that align development to the protection of our planet. With that, Colombia is not participating in any confrontation around the world of geopolitical nature. Colombia has its values, its principles, and Colombia, in the case of the Western Hemisphere, has very strong relationship with all the countries, but in a worldwide view, Colombia is a country that wants to continue to strengthen its diplomatic ties with countries around the world.
But let's focus back on another important event about cooperation, about people-to-people relationship, which is the upcoming Beijing Winter Olympics and Paralympic Olympic Games. I know that Colombia is also sending athletes. So how do you look at the significance of these games?
I think sports is one of my passions, Lou. And in my administration, Colombia created the Ministry of Sports. When we look at the summer Olympics and Paralympics, Colombia reached the highest medals ever, more than 20 or something close to 29 medals. We just celebrated in Colombia the Youth Pan American Games. We're going to be host of the next Pan American Games in 2027. So we feel very proud about all the things that we have achieved, and we feel also very proud of our participation in all the international competitions. These Olympic Games, as you know, are very important for the world. Sports is something that unites. Sports is something that allows us to build peace, to understand our differences, but also to compete in a friendly way and reach opportunities and build opportunities for the youngsters. Because every single time an athlete goes to an Olympic Games, either summer or winter, or it wins a medal, or it's recognized because of its talent, it's also inspiring new people in our societies to embrace the cause of professional sports. So we feel very proud, and we consider that these games, in the midst of the pandemic, are also the demonstration that the world is looking ahead with enthusiasm and with a clear sentiment of recovery.
The World Economic Forum, the WEF agenda during the 2022 forum, you also participated and you talked about nature-positive urban building. There has been, as you mentioned, bilateral cooperation on infrastructure and energy generation in the past 2 years between China and Colombia. How are these projects progressing, and is Colombia reaping benefits either for its business or for its people?
Well, we are celebrating actually this year, Liu, in China, the next COP on biodiversity. Colombia was the host of the pre-COP on biodiversity. And we just launched a report with Professor Klaus Schwab called Biodiverse Cities. How cities must embrace policies to protect biodiversity and also to unite two concepts: to be carbon neutral and at the same time to be nature positive. Carbon neutrality is crucial for us to lower the CO2 emissions and obviously to reach zero emissions by the way we compensate. But nature positive is because we definitely need to protect not only flora and fauna, but also we need to protect all our ecosystems. And we need cities to be conscious that the way they plan transportation system, waste management, water use, they are generating an intensity on the environment, and they're generating a pressure to the sources of water and energy. So having this report, having this strategy that is fully aligned with the Road to Zero, which is the strategy that we launched in Glasgow, is a way to say that Colombia is now leading this policy effort. We have 14 cities in Colombia that are highly committed to the concept of biodiversities, and launching this report is also an invitation to other countries to work with the mayors and governors so that the way we plan and the way cities function are really aligned to the world target of reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. There's no planet B, Liu. And if we embrace this cause with enthusiasm, with commitment, with investment, and also having a carbon credit market that is robust and credible, I think we will meet the target. I'm an optimistic, and I think this report that Colombia launched at the World Economic Forum is a way to say that Colombia wants to be in a starting role in environmental policies around the world. Something that is very important is the concept of competitiveness. For many years, competitiveness was conceived of where you reduce cost and how to generate more revenue, or where you're more productive. Today, we have seen that Colombia has an additional aggregated value. We wrote a report with the president of the Colombian Industrial Association, Dr. Bruce McMaster, and I wrote this paper with him, showing that Colombia is one of the countries around Latin America and the Caribbean with the lower amount of CO2 emissions. When we look at the Colombian energy matrix, when we look at the Colombian energy intensity use, and when we look of the territory that will be protected, and how do we make that part of the territory connected with carbon markets, Colombia is becoming one of the greenest competitive countries around the world. And that means, and that's very important for investors, that $1 invested in Colombia is a cleaner dollar than a dollar invested in many other countries around the world.
I think that is also in line with China's policy of building a green belt and road around the world. Many thanks. Muchas gracias, President Duque. Thank you so much once again for having joined us, and all the very best to you.
Thank you so much, Lou. All the best to you. And let me send a big hug to all the Chinese people with gratitude and with friendship.
A continuación vamos a hacer una conexión con el señor Yan Jin, investigador del Instituto de Estudios Latinoamericanos del Instituto de Relaciones Internacionales Contemporáneas de China, quien dará sus comentarios sobre las relaciones chino-colombianas. Señor Yan, gracias por acompañarnos en línea. ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, gracias por su invitación, con mucho gusto.
Gracias, es un placer invitarle. Bueno, entonces hemos visto que en algunos reportajes de medios de colombianos, ellos dicen que se ve un acercamiento de las relaciones entre China y Colombia. Entonces, a su parecer, en los últimos 2 años se han ido estrechando las relaciones chino-colombianas, y ¿en qué aspecto se ha reflejado esto?
Bueno, estoy totalmente de acuerdo con usted. Durante mucho tiempo, como la cuarta economía más grande de América Latina, Colombia, digamos, quizás fue un poco tímido con respecto a otras potenciales regionales en el desarrollo de las relaciones con China. Sin embargo, desde la visita del presidente Iván Duque a China en 2019, y eso fue clave, los dos países comienzan a aprovechar del 40º aniversario de establecimiento de relaciones diplomáticas como una oportunidad para implementar continuamente el plan para el desarrollo futuro de las relaciones bilaterales, lo cual fue planificado por los dos jefes de Estados, explorando el potencial de la cooperación pragmática, bilateral y la apertura de nuevos sectores. Se puede decir que las relaciones entre China y Colombia han logrado un desarrollo sin precedentes, como dijo el presidente Duque hace quizás un pocos meses, las relaciones entre China y Colombia están pasando por su mejor momento.
Exacto.
Yo creo que el acercamiento de China y Colombia se manifiesta en muchos aspectos. El reflejo más directo son los frecuentes intercambios de altos niveles entre los dos países. Vemos una mayor profundización de la confianza política mutua y una mejora de la comprensión y apoyo mutuo en el sector de la cooperación económica y comercial. China se ha convertido en el segundo socio comercial más grande de Colombia. Varias empresas chinas están licitando por grandes proyectos de infraestructura. En cuanto a la cooperación en el marco de la iniciativa de la Franja y la Ruta, las dos partes han logrado una serie de resultados prácticos en las áreas de economía, comercio, energía, infraestructura y interconectividad. Finalmente, pero lo más importante creo que es la cooperación con las vacunas. En el año pasado, ante la pandemia de COVID-19, los dos países se han unido y ayudado mutuamente para superar las dificultades y llevar a cabo activamente una serie de cooperación para luchar contra la pandemia.
En 2019, cuando el presidente colombiano visitó a China, propuso la iniciativa China-Colombia. ¿Y cómo ve usted esta iniciativa? ¿Tiene algo en común con la iniciativa de la Franja y la Ruta propuesta por China?
Digamos que las dos iniciativas tienen mucho en común, ¿no? Incluso muchos puntos parecidos. Por ejemplo, el presidente Duque dijo que quería ver más empresas chinas participando en los proyectos de energía renovable, de distrito de riego para la productividad agrícola y de los servicios logísticos, y con lo cual Colombia tendría desarrollo en los dos océanos. Además, la meta de la iniciativa colombiana es ayudar a Colombia a convertirse en un país atractivo a la inversión, eficaz y competitivo en el comercio, y por supuesto un país que quiere construir un enfoque de crecimiento con equidad. Cabe mencionar que en la apertura del quinto diálogo China-Colombia que tuvo lugar el año pasado, en noviembre del año pasado, el presidente Duque reafirmaba su interés en la iniciativa Colombia-China y de elevar el estatus de las relaciones a una asociación estratégica integral por el beneficio de ambas naciones. Desde esta perspectiva, la visión, los objetivos y las áreas de cooperación de la iniciativa, la Franja y una Ruta, son muy consistentes con las de la iniciativa China-Colombia. El concepto de la cooperación de la iniciativa de la Franja y la Ruta, especialmente los principios de deliberación en común, construcción conjunta y el codisfrute, también son muy consistentes con las características esenciales de las relaciones entre China y Colombia. Creo que, por lo tanto, creo que la iniciativa de la Franja y la Ruta y la iniciativa Colombia-China puede lograr plenamente acoplamiento estratégico en un futuro no muy remoto.
Exacto. Y otro factor que quería mencionar en especial es la consolidación del proceso del acuerdo de paz en Colombia, lo que deja una impresión al mundo que Colombia está convirtiéndose en un país más seguro. Para usted, ¿de qué manera este proceso de paz en Colombia está dejando influencias en las inversiones de China en Colombia? Y en estos últimos años, ¿cuáles son las nuevas características de las inversiones chinas en este país suramericano?
Bueno, no hay duda de que con el avance continuo del proceso doméstico de paz en Colombia, la situación general de seguridad en Colombia se ha estabilizado, aunque quizás en algunas áreas remotas y provincias fronterizas aún enfrentan conflictos armados ocasionales pero de pequeña escala. La construcción y el desarrollo económico se ha convertido, creo que, se ha convertido en el objetivo de este país. El gobierno colombiano estos años estaba tratando de promover el desarrollo de la agricultura y el turismo en las áreas que anteriormente eran controladas por los rebeldes, pero obviamente la menos desarrollada infraestructura y la red de servicios de transporte público en estas áreas son los principales obstáculos. Es bien sabido que China es altamente competitiva en la construcción de infraestructura. Por eso muchas empresas chinas esperan participar en la restauración en el periodo de la posguerra de Colombia.
En sus comentarios anteriores usted también ha mencionado la pandemia, que yo creo que para algunas relaciones es un factor o un desafío para algunas relaciones entre diferentes países, pero también simboliza oportunidades para otras relaciones entre países. Entonces, ¿cómo ve usted la relación entre China y Colombia durante estos 2 años de la pandemia?
China y Colombia han ayudado firmemente mutuamente. Especialmente después del brote de la pandemia en China, Colombia suministró a China muchas materias antiepidémicos. Cuando ocurrió la pandemia en Colombia, China, desde el gobierno central hasta el gobierno local, incluso muchas empresas donaron activamente y proporcionaron muchos suministros médicos como ventiladores, equipos de protección a Colombia. Los expertos de China también realizó varias videoconferencias con sus contrapartes colombianas para compartir su experiencia en prevención y control de la pandemia. Se puede decir que China le ha demostrado a Colombia lo que significa, creo que los verdaderos amigos se conocen en la adversidad, ¿no?
¿Qué perspectivas tiene usted sobre el desarrollo de esta relación en adelante?
En la era post-pandemia, en términos de la cooperación antiepidémica, creo que China continuará brindando donaciones materiales y técnicas y facilitando que Colombia pueda comprar más vacunas chinas. En términos de la comunicación estratégica, creo que se acelerará el compramiento entre la iniciativa de la franja y la ruta y la iniciativa Colombia-China. Sabemos que por la pandemia la iniciativa colombiana no se ha podido ejecutar tan rápido como se quería, pero ya está en la mesa. Creo que a medida que la pandemia disminuye, las nuevas áreas como la agricultura, la ganadería, la energía renovable, la economía digital y la industria creativa se convertirán en los nuevos puntos de crecimiento de cooperación estratégica entre los dos países. En términos de inversión, creo que la escala de inversión bilateral será cada vez mayor, especialmente veremos una mayor cantidad de empresas chinas que invertirán en la economía digital, la economía verde, la economía climática y la economía sanitaria de Colombia. Y eso creo que justamente es lo que necesita tanto China como Colombia para la transformación económica y social en la era post-pandemia.
Sí, muchas gracias, profesor Yenjin, por proporcionarnos sus opiniones respecto a esta relación. Muchas gracias. Amigos, así concluimos esta emisión de Diálogo. Muchas gracias por sintonizarnos y les invitamos a continuar disfrutando de los programas de CGTN Español. Hasta la próxima emisión.